what we're going to do is we're going to cut the tearaway to hoop for our embroidery, and I'm using an 11x7 hoop to do the 6.5x16 area we're going to put the person's name that this is going to be gifted to. And but we have to hoop our machine first, so we're doing like double stabilizer. I've got stabilizer on the fabric, and I'm going to have a tearaway that I'm using underneath, and then I'm going to also use probably a cutaway on the back of this so that none of the stitches pucker, whether it's washed or not washed. So we need to make sure and have enough of the stabilizer to cover the hoop. Super important, because if your paper doesn't cover your hoop enough to get around it to set your hoop inside, then your stitches are going to be really whacked out. So we want to make sure and have enough, you know, under the hoop per se. Trick is to really get in. You don't want it too loose, and you want it tight enough. You need it really tight. And then what I do before I put this on the machine is I rip all this off, because it's just going to get in the way. It serves no purpose, it's just going to get in the way. One thing I want to say is all people who embroidery do it differently. We're not all the same. We read the manuals, interpret the manuals very differently. We discover shortcuts and things that work for our business or work for our machine. And, you know, it's just, there's not really one set of rules for embroidery. Especially when you're working with mechanics, you can figure out all kinds of really cool ways to use your embroidery machine. Okay, so I'm going to spray a little bit of quilter basting spray on here, because I don't want my fabric to be shifting around on me. And this will just ensure that it's nice and it's ready to go. And it's ready to have fabric on it. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some more tearaway to further stabilize, you know, make this just a little bit stable so that my stitches don't act up on me. So I want to make sure that my design is going to be really pretty, and I don't want it upside down to put their name on it. So you want to make sure that you look at your design and make sure that, you know, everything is upright where you're going to, you know, stitch out your name. On these hoops, they have center points. There's one here, one on this side, one here, and one there. And you can use, they do come with guides. You can use the guides. I don't like the guides. I never use them. And I mainly just do a lot of my stuff by eyeballing. But I want to center this end and this end on these two pegs, just like that. Just want to make sure that, you know, it's hitting the center of the fabric, so that, you know, obviously it's not going to be crooked and the name's not going to be crooked. And then I'm just going to double check that this is in the middle of this fabric, because the machine is going to say that this right here is the middle of your design. So we just want to be careful. And just to further ensure that it's not going to shift on me, I'm going to do a little bit of pinning. So I'm going to pin this end, and you have to be careful so you don't puncture. Go slow. And then you're going to come over here and do another pin. So now this is not going to drop. It's not going to shift. When I slide it on the machine, I know exactly where that's going to hit on my design. So let's go over to the machine, get it set up, and get to doing some embroidery. Okay, we have our embroidery hoop installed on our machine. I have my embroidery head installed. I have a good needle. I have a fresh bobbin, a full bobbin in the bottom of my machine. And the bobbin color is really not going to matter for this tote bag because you're not going to be able to see it. We're not embroidering this attached to the tote bag. Because the less stitches you see, the more custom the bag looks. So we really want to hide any stitches that we can possibly hide. I've got the color of the thread that the customer ordered. It's a gray, which matches the gray right here. It's probably a little shade darker so that it doesn't blend in. And we're going to go ahead and get this set up and get her name typed in here, and then we'll start the stitching. Okay, I've got her name already and set up to go. I'm going to make sure that it's not going to interfere with any pins, and the name is going to stay on to the stabilizer. That's super important. Once you start this thing, it's very difficult to undo what you've already started, so you would have to completely begin again. Unless you're a high-level professional embroiderer, you're going to not be able to undo a mess. So I'm going to scan the area to make sure that it's staying on the stabilizer. And it's going to always follow back to the center of the design. So this is going to be 2.58 inches in width, and it's going to be 5.8 inches, 5 inches 0.81 across. So almost, it's going to be relatively long. So we want to make sure that this is very visible, it looks very personalized and very professional. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start our design stitching. Now we're going to lower our foot. The light will become green. I've got my bobbin ready to go. And we'll go ahead and start the stitching. I won't bore you with the entire stitch process, but I'll try to capture some of the intervals. And you've got really beautiful satin stitches here. We'll clip all of these little, what I call runners, off. Okay, we're coming to the end of our stitching of the name, and we can now move on and start stitching up our bag. Done with our embroidery, and we're just gonna take this and tear it off. This is tearaway we're using. If it was cutaway, you certainly wouldn't want to rip that off. And what I do in this case is I usually just take, you can take a pair of tweezers or whatever you can. I'm just going to clean up this backing a little bit so when this bag is ever washed, it won't fall apart, or little pieces won't get behind the bag. Let me get my scissors and my tweezers. Okay, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit so you can see this better. Alright, so I'm just gonna take the tweezers here and pull this out a little bit. There's a layer here I don't need. Buying handcrafted products is so important to support local people here in the United States as opposed to buying them from overseas. I can't tell you how many customers that I've talked to, they just hate buying anything that's, you know, not American. And we just need to support people that do that. I don't run a big factory or anything like that. I've made 50 of these totes in a day, and I usually go really super fast, but I thought I'd slow down so that I could show y'all how they're done. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put this on the bag. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit so you can see. And I eyeball mostly, but it's about 3 inches down, and we're gonna go ahead and pin this in. Oops. Because we're gonna go stitch this down. I'm gonna put some embellishments. I'm gonna put a row of lace down here, and then I'm gonna do some trim work. So let me go get that and we'll be back. Okay. So I'm going to put the lace, I've got a little lace trim, and you can buy this trim online or at any kind of Joann's, or eBay is the cheapest place to buy trim because I buy it in bulk, but I know it's cheaper than the stores. Okay, get this put on here. I'm just pinning this so that it would be, you know, it's easy to stitch on there. And I'll make any minor adjustments. I'll go ahead and clip this. And then our other section that we need to have is a little embellishment. Since I put something on the top, I feel like it balances out if you put an embellishment on the top. And we have this yellow, or what I think I might do is this off-white to match this trim. And this I can set down, it's got a little roping in it, I can set this down in there and give this a really custom look. Pardon my reach. And again, I'm just pinning. I'll make some other adjustments once I get to the sewing machine. I'll go ahead and trim this off. It's just a reminder too for everybody watching this video, you know, this is not a how to sew video, and I know you're missing a lot of details and maybe a lot of terminology for sewing. I really, one of the things about my channel for this particular venue is to show what products we sell at Cedar Hill Country Market, and you know, what products are you actually going to get in the mail. You know, did somebody really actually handcraft your item? So I really want to display our work and show, you know, what we can do best in the marketplace. So for anybody leaving a comment that it really wasn't explained well and the measurements aren't given and this and that, just understand that, you know, this channel is not a sewing channel. It's really to display and present the handcrafted custom items that I offer on cedarhillcountrymarket.com. Okay, so let's go to the sewing machine and get this tacked down. So we're over here at the sewing machine, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to tack this down. I'm going to try to get up really close to this trim work and take out my pins, and I'm going to go rather slow so that I get this on really well. Going to use a really good solid tight straight stitch on this particular one. I might want to use a green thread. Let me see. I think I'm going to go ahead and use white for this particular stitch right here at the top. Let's see, I may want to do the bottom lace work first. So I'm going to flip this around. And for this bottom section, I'm going to zigzag because I really want this in really good. You're not going to be able to see it. And it'll stay in really well. And this particular back stitch or zigzag, you can back stitch, and most zigzags you cannot back stitch. So my machine offers a couple of zigzags with a back stitch. So we'll go see. And you just want it as straight as you can possibly get it. Down there at the edge. I don't know what that thread's doing there. stitch, front stitch. So we're double stitching that, and then use our thread cutter. Get that out of the way. And we can trim off any of the excess when we go to the table. Alright, I'm going to change threads here. I'm going to use a coordinating thread for this top section. Changing threads on this machine is so easy, easier than any machine I've ever owned. It's just, I used to cringe every time I had to change thread, and you know, it's just such a big deal, a hassle. And this machine is just, it's no big deal. I think Baby Lock has it down. Threading it is a breeze. You don't have to have good eyes, nothing. It's just easy, easy, easy. Now, I'll go ahead and take this pin out. I'm going to get this, we'll use a really tight straight stitch on this to get this going. I'm going to try to get as much up to this trim line as I possibly can get. And back stitch. And you know, go slow if you want, if you're trying to do this. I sometimes speed up, but you can go slow. Nothing, it doesn't hurt anything. It's so much easier to go slow and get it right than to hurry, and then you have to rip it out and redo it. Stitch, front stitch, and then use my button to cut the threads. Could not be simple, simple, easy. Alright. Alright, we've got a really good stitch going through here all the way up next to that trim work. And let's go take a look at it. So now we're going to take our denim and we're going to finish the edges. I'm going to finish the top edge so that I can fold it down, and I'm going to finish, well, we'll just do the top. We'll just do the top one for right now. Then I'll explain on the sides what we're going to do with that. I'm using a Juki MO1000 serger, and this serger is self-threading, so get our threads trimmed here. Alright, so here you see the finished edge that I put on the tote bag, and all that's going to do is we're going to fold it down so that it sits inside the tote bag and it looks really finished. Now let's go. Okay, so now we're going to go over to the iron, and we're going to press down our top edge of the tote bag. So we finish it off with the serger all the way to the ends on each side, and we're going to fold them down approximately 1 inch. Sometimes you don't put a ruler to me, but I just eyeball it, so approximately 1 inch, and then I'm just going to press that down on each side of the tote bag so that you have a nice finished look. So, okay. So what I do is I use the second side as the guide here. So I eyeball it. Steam it. And then I just fold it over like that to make sure that they're even on each side. Okay, our top half has been pressed, ready for us to put on the handles, and we'll get those cut here in just a minute. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and press out our straps. I want to get a good press on those. I've cut them 3 inches wide, and again they're about 29 inches long. So when you roll, when they hang off the bag. For the sake of time, I've cut the strips that we need for the straps, and there's two 29-inch pieces for each side. And obviously where the fabric folds over, that's where we can trim. So we'll have 2 straps on this side. Excuse me, 1 strap on this side and 1 strap on that side. And so we cut 2 sets of straps. That's for the next tote bag. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a strap on this side and a strap on that side. I'm going to go finish on the serger. I'm going to go finish off these ends so that we don't have no raw edges. We don't want that. And then we'll come back and press them, because we got to press them before we can stitch them on the machine. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and press out our straps. I want to get a good press on those. I've cut them 3 inches wide, and again they're about 29 inches long. So when you roll, when they hang off the bag, obviously it's just going to be the perfect size to throw over your shoulder. Let me show you how I do the straps. What I do is I put a crease down each side. I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so we have the handles attached to the bag on both sides, and I've just ran a straight stitch on the top part. Sometimes if they request, we put a decorative stitch on the top right here. And the next thing I did, just to save time, I went ahead and did it without video, but I ran a seam down each of the right sides on the outside. On each end, on the other end, I ran a seam, 1/4 of an inch seam all the way up the bag, and then I trimmed really super close to the stitch. I trimmed both sides, and you just get as close as you can without opening the stitch. So we're going to press the front of the bag. I use polyester threads, and when you apply heat to them, they fuse into the fabric so that they rarely ever come out. So now what we're going to do, because we're going to put a French seam on the edge of the bag, we're going to flip the bag inside out. Now I just take the corners with my hands and pull them to the front. And you want to get your corners all the way out. You can use the purple thingy, and the seamstress know what that is. I have one, I just don't have it readily handy. So, okay. So the next thing, okay, we've got the bag all stitched down each side. I'll bring it on the outside. And any of these little threads that are poking out, we can take care of those. No worries. That's just the raw edge. You can eliminate that too by serging the sides. Denim's a little tough. You just have to work with it. It'll eventually give way. Good iron and a good grip, and it'll work really well. So the bag for construction purposes has really double or triple stitching to hold up for years and years and years. I hope this helps you make a tote bag, or certainly you can purchase this tote bag at cedarhillcountrymarket.com. And again, this is a custom tote bag. And all that you do when you order it is leave in the notes section, you just leave the name that you want and the color of the thread that you want. And the fabrics for the back, I usually communicate with the customer by email, and I send photographs of, I try to get a theme of what they like, and then I send photographs, and then that's how I start making the bag. All right. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you'll check out our store at cedarhillcountrymarket.com. Everybody have a blessed day.